momentum that started last fall moving forward. So I wanted to introduce a couple other people that will be involved today. George Geiger he's the program operations director at the American Conservation Experience. We'll be hearing from George as he gives us an update on the status of the Trails Forum. Eileen May West is the program director at Wasatch Adaptive Sports. She'll be talking to us later on about the efforts of the steering committee to put together a vision and a mission statement. And then Dave Bastian will be helping us. He's the partnerships director at the Canyon Country Youth Corps. And these folks are just a few of the people that are involved in the Utah Trails Forum since we met last, that have tried to take up the banner and help out with organizing some stuff and really giving us an opportunity in this format to talk. So special thanks to them for their willingness to help, as well as all of those folks behind the scenes, especially Patrick and Tara in India, who are doing a ton of work behind the scenes to make all this possible. So thank you to them, and thank you for all of you that have spent your time with us today. So I wanted to just review real quick the intent of our meeting. And really it's to bring the community of Trails folks all across the state together again to start talking. As I mentioned, I was really inspired by that meeting last fall. And I think it's an important thing that we start to coordinate and have a united, or at least a collaborated voice when it comes to trails throughout the state of Utah. The second intent of the meeting is to bring everybody up to speed on what's been happening behind the scenes with the Utah Trails Forum. That last meeting was a kickoff, and this is sort of an update. Also, we really wanted to get the larger groups help on charting a path forward for the next couple months. What are the priorities? What are the things you're concerned about? What are the challenges that you're seeing in the field? And then how do you envision the Utah Trails Forum as a group of like-minded folks to help you out? What can we do to help you? So that's kind of the overview. The agenda today, we'll have a little bit of an update on the status, and then a couple of interactive breakout sessions, both in breakout rooms as well as you giving us some of your thoughts. And that's one reason we set this meeting up, not as a information out webinar, but as a large group meeting. So if you can sort of remember that, a couple of ground rules: if you're not talking, make sure your microphone is muted so we don't get feedback. But when you are, if at all possible, please have your cameras on. Putting faces and names of this community together is one other aspect of this meeting that I think we need to be keep in the forefront of our minds. So we would love to see you. We'd love to hear from you. And we have some opportunities later in the meeting where you'll be put in small groups, and we want small groups with a facilitator to have that kind of feedback. So that's what you have to look forward to today. We have an hour and a half budgeted for our time. And we want to use that time effectively to get as much information and collaboration out of you as possible. So with that, I saw one comment: if you don't have a camera, that's totally fine. Just want to make, and I know some of you have dogs and kids and all kinds of crazy stuff that you might not want to show the rest of the world. We get that too, but if there is an opportunity, we would love to see your face. So with that, I want to turn the time over to George to give us a little bit of a status update on where the Utah Trails Forum is since we left off in the fall of last year. George?
Thanks, Jake. And really thanks to all of you for participating here. The geographic presence that we have here shows how important this is to everyone across the state. So excited to get started here. The group was formed, as Jake mentioned, on the heels of the last meeting. And from that last meeting, we learned a few things. The need for better coordination within the trail community. That was one of the big takeaways. A need for ways to help individuals, communities, and organizations do their work better. Just more support from any level, and really acknowledging that the Utah Trails Forum is a needed resource. Those three things were strong takeaways from the last meeting. And so with that, Tara and Patrick reached out to a few of us and asked if we would take part in helping establish what this could look like. This has been just a very introductory piece for us. We recognize we don't represent everyone here or the entire community necessarily. We're just a select few that have tried to get a little foundation and get something started so that we can build from that as a group. Ultimately, getting all of you involved in different ways is our goal, with just establishing a little foundation beforehand. So I do want to introduce the members and where they're coming from in just a moment, but our intent is to grow the team slightly larger, to grow the committees, and to really have a presence across the state that represents us regionally, demographically, different specialties, different organizations and agencies represented across the state, so that we have the proper representation throughout this committee. So briefly, I'm George Greiger. I work with American Conservation Experience. Dave Bastian works with Canyon Country Youth Corps. Betsy Byrne, National Park Service. Eileen Mae West, Wasatch Adaptive Sports. Lewis Kogan and Katie Reiser, both with Salt Lake City Trails and Natural Lands. Bridget Estep, Southern Utah University. Kevin Christofferson, Trails Alliance of Southern Utah. Jake Powell, Utah State University, and we've been tremendously supported with Tara and Patrick out of the Utah Office of Outdoor Rec. So those folks will be in the breakouts along with a few others that have been willing to help, and we hope to see this group grow in different ways as well. But the initial efforts have been put together by this group, and we're currently meeting every few weeks trying to get things moving. So from our initial meetings, we've developed two work groups to identify challenges and needs. So we've created an education committee and a technical committee, ultimately using feedback from sessions like this and future input. We're hoping to develop what those committees dive into, but there has been a pretty good amount of work that the committees have already tried to get involved in. Our intent as a committee, I've already mentioned, but our intent is just to build the foundation so that committee members and these working group have the direction they need just to hit the ground running. And so a lot of our work as a UTF committee has been around just building that foundation and understanding where we're going forward. Right after this quick intro, Eileen is jumping into vision mission statement, and I'll read them quickly here, but she'll reiterate those. We've established what we feel like is a good kind of a foundation for moving forward. These might be adjusted slightly over time, but we're eager to get your feedback and hear if these do represent what the community is looking for. So the mission we came up with is the Utah Trails Forum advances trail access, quality, and stewardship through collaboration, education, and technical support. And our more lofty vision is building Utah's path to the greatest trails on earth. And I won't take any more time with those. I'll let Eileen describe how we came to those and some of their background, and we're eager to get your feedback on those. I'm going to end with two things, but one, just quick summary of what the subcommittees have been working on. So the Education and Outreach Committee has done bulk of the work to get this going, for example. So they've been working on this webinar with the intent of making our work a little bit more transparent. And as we mentioned, we want to grow and get feedback from the trail community. We want our efforts to represent you all and your constituents. So trying to get this webinar for more feedback was critical. The groups also come up with ways to bring the diverse voices of the trail community together to understand what challenges and opportunities the trails community are currently facing. So again, more feedback loops and more ways of getting information from all of you. The technical committee has really just had a few discussions, but we've discussed the challenges trail groups are encountering, and we're starting to look at different approaches to improve the technical knowledge and the standards for trails across the state. Both of these committees are looking at additional webinars and asking for help on setting priorities and what we will be working on in the future from you. And also, we are looking to build out additional a full day programming during the fall Outdoorrex Summits in September. So we'll be working, right after this, really starting to build that out and see what that could look like. And the last thing I wanted to end with before passing it on to Jake and then Eileen is an ask. So we would love to see you within our subcommittees and starting to work on this. We're still, as a group, trying to find what that looks like, how to bring you in, how to get you up to speed, and how to get your input. But it starts with you reaching out and knowing that and us knowing that you're out and available. So if you're interested, Patrick can put some emails in the chat if needed. You're more than welcome to reach out to me or any of the subcommittee leads if you have interest in participating in those. And what we find today will largely build out probably what we're going to be working on, but we do know we're going to work on additional webinars and those full day events at the Outdoorrex Summit. So you can definitely plan on those, and the rest will be defined really with input from today and us moving forward. So once again, thank you. We're looking forward to sharing the vision and mission in a little more detail and starting to get feedback from you from the breakouts. Thanks. And anything I missed, Jake, before we move on to Eileen?
No, that's great, George. Thank you so much. As George mentioned, none of us our role is not the Utah Trails Forum. We all do, just like you, we all have a day job, and we're doing this organization and building that foundation, as George mentioned, just I guess on the nights and weekends, and trying to get things started. So that help would be much appreciated, and for you to join your voice with the work and the efforts of everyone else. So as George mentioned, these groups, the education, outreach, and technical groups, we're calling them work groups because they're not committees, they're effort focused. So if you're willing to add your effort to ours, we would love that. And I'll put my email in just a minute after I post another link, and the technical subcommittee lead can put their email in that way people can have a way to contact us. So I would love to have Eileen, if you want to unmute and talk a little bit about the mission and vision, how we got there, and then I'm going to share a link to a website called Mentee, and it will allow you to share some feedback after she introduces kind of the process that got us to the draft mission and vision. So Eileen, go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. And welcome, everyone. It's exciting to see all you guys, and excited to share what we've been working on a lot with you all. Yeah, George read our mission and vision earlier, and it was exciting to be part of the process pulling these together. Some really awesome conversation from our steering committee. Basically what we did is we proposed to the group kind of a series of questions. What is your dream for our community? What would you like to see change? What kind of community do you want to create? And what issues, problems, or strengths or assets do you see in our trail community here in Utah? And the conversation that came out of it was lofty and awesome, and also really passionate. And we kind of realized were some themes that were coming out of everybody's perspective about having, a long-term quality experience and a community that has access. And really the culture of our trail community was really important. So there were many iterations of all of these, and we spent some time looking at other missions and visions for other groups similar to ours, and also different. And I think we were really fortunate to have in the group people that have worked with missions and visions and also been a part of forming them for a lot of organizations. So just to repeat them again, for our vision, kind of our lofty view for where we'll always work towards is building Utah's path to the greatest trails on earth. And then the mission, kind of our action statement, and what will guide, hopefully your input for us, and as we as an entire forum continue to grow, be the benchmark that we can use to make sure that we're on the right track. The Utah Trails Forum advances trail access, quality, and stewardship through collaboration, education, and technical support. And yeah, the pieces of that kind of captured the themes of our conversation, but also what we're hoping to act on: the collaboration, the community being really important, education and opportunity for those of you that are experts to be educators, and also people who are looking for information and mentorship to receive education and support. And then, yeah, also the technical side, things that we see and experience and look for as we're approaching our trail experiences. So Jake, I'll kick it back to you to explain those polls again. But we're really what I'm most excited about beyond this vision and mission is your feedback on it. So.
Yeah, thanks, Eileen. Eileen was awesome to help herd the cats and give us some structure to thinking about this. So I'm going to share this post. It's a link to the website Mentee. If you click on that, it'll give you access. And what we're asking you is to give feedback. There's kind of a slider bar from, this is totally what I thought. This is what I envision the Utah Trails Forum should be, all the way to like, no way, you guys missed the boat. And I'll share my screen. You're welcome. Click on that link and you can start voting. You can vote also with your phone if you look at this tab, if you don't have access to. So go ahead and share your thoughts with us. How close are we when it comes to the vision statement of building Utah's path to the greatest trails on earth? And I'm going to give everybody about, I'm going to set a timer, about 45 seconds to share your thoughts with us.
And Jake, it is saying that you need to allow the second question.
Yes, so I'm not going to allow the second question until you guys give us your thoughts on the vision. That's on purpose, George.
Should have listened earlier.
Good question. All right, there's about 15 seconds left. So share it. Please finish sharing your ideas or your feedback with us, and then I'll move on to the next one. All right, so it looks like people in general feel like we're close-ish, which is great. So that the same question for the next regarding the mission. So if you could let us know again where you think we are in the mission. Feel free to share your thoughts. Again, those what you personally or yourself or your organization might feel about it, from the lowest of like no way all the way to yes, this is just what I was thinking. Okay, it looks like people are still voting. I'm going to give everybody about 15 more seconds to use that slider bar and let us know how we did. All right, share any last thoughts? You have just a few seconds. Okay, so it looks like people feel similarly to the vision statement, that it's close, but maybe not exact. So this is an evolution. We're looking at the idea from day one was to start somewhere and see how you feel about it. So it feels like, I guess, if I can speak for the group, that we can move forward under this kind of idea. And if there's tweaks in the future, we would love to hear your thoughts on how we can make these better. So with that, I'm going to stop my presenting and talk a little bit about getting your feedback. What we'd like to do is to break out into some individual smaller rooms where you can actually have a conversation. And the intent of these rooms are twofold. One is to give you a chance to get to know each other and build that community. So all these names and faces. And then the second is to get some information back from you about what's going on in your neck of the woods. What are some things you're working on? And then some challenges and about those projects that you're working on. And each of these rooms will be facilitated by one of the folks that's volunteered to help out. And they're going to be kind of setting ground rules and getting things started. But we want to provide about 35 minutes. And that sounds like a long time till you're actually in these rooms if you've done this before. But our facilitators are going to be really hard on you as far as time. So make sure you're not rambling like I am all the time. So jump to your point, introduce yourself, those sort of things. Make sure they're snappy so everybody has a chance to talk in those rooms. Patrick, you can give me a thumbs up if we're ready for that.
Yeah, I think we're all ready. I've got 10 rooms. We're looking about 5 to 6 people each room. And then just wanted to review the facilitators real quick. In room number 1, we have Betsy. Room number 2, I've got Katie. Room number 3, Dave. Room number 4, it looks like Kevin and Tara. Room number 5, we have Laura. Room 6, we got Sean. Room 7, Eileen. Room 8, Jake. Room 9, George. And room 10, Jesse. So ideally, we should have anywhere from 4 to 6 people. It looks like a few people have dropped in and out, and anybody comes in while they're, I'll try to assign them. But
great. So Patrick, folks need to stay in their rooms until you bring them back, correct?
Yeah. So we'll do 35 minutes.
Awesome. Yes.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. You can send us to our rooms.
All right. Well, off you go. I'll set a timer for 35 minutes.
Thanks. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Looks like people are trickling back in from their rooms. I hope you had a productive conversation. Got to meet some people. I'll give everybody a few more minutes to get back in. All right, let's get started. So the last 15 or 20 minutes, what we're going to talk about is really gathering some of your feedback. So hopefully in your rooms, you had a conversation about some of the cool stuff that's happening in your area, whether it's happening tomorrow or just sort of a dream down the road. And then what are some of the challenges that you feel like are holding you up? And the reason for that is how do we engage the community that is the trail community that's kind of represented in this room to help overcome some of those challenges through the Utah Trails Forum. I was talking to my group, you know, when we talk about who the Utah Trails Forum is, it's not the 4 or 5 people that are talking a lot today. It's the people in this room. It's a community of people that want to move things forward. So if you're looking for someone to do something, don't look at George or Dave or myself. Yeah, look across the screen in this room, because that's who's going to make the difference. We want to bring everybody together to have those conversations. So what I want to do is have you open up your chat. So in Google Meets, it's up in the upper, at least on mine, in the upper right hand corner. There's a little word bubble icon. If you could open that up, I'm going to ask a question that I want you to type your response and don't submit it till I ask you to. And what we'll get is kind of a waterfall of responses. So I'm going to put in this question in the chat for everyone to think about. And the question is, where do you think we should invest our limited time as a steering committee who's trying to help this larger community with moving forward? What are the next key steps in your mind for the steering committee what would help you the most? So go ahead and type that into your chat, but don't submit it till I ask you to. I'll give everybody about a minute to think about that, and then about 30 seconds to type up your response. All right, I'll give you about 15 more seconds to finish typing up your stuff, and then I'll ask you to post it. So the topic is, where should we invest our limited time as a steering committee to move things forward? How can we help you the best? All right, go ahead. If you got those figured out, go ahead and post those in there. Awesome. This is great. Holy cow. So things from standardizing how to build trails, giving an economic understanding, training resources, capacity building, representing at a larger level, having maybe a more united voice at a state and county government level, getting ways to get maintenance done. We had a big conversation in our room about the challenges of actually maintaining what we have, promoting stewardship, getting all users to maintain the landscape, which is awesome. Education, stewardship, having a voice, providing or highlighting examples of projects that are working well. Yeah, part of our education outreach team is talking about some of the challenges of feeling, especially right now, isolated as maybe an individual or a trail user group or trail group in general. Maybe you're in a small town and you're running the San Juan County Trails Foundation or something. You're like, who's doing it well, and how do you learn something so you don't have to reinvent that wheel? Getting local governments involved. How do we come up with principles that are universal, that are site specific? Collaborating, lobbying. Yeah, these are awesome. A toolbox of some sort, a data set for the state. These are awesome. Connecting each other, right? How do we create ways for each other to ask questions? These are amazing ideas. These are the kind of things that our group, the 4 or 5 of us, have been thinking about this for the last couple months. We were not this creative, so thank you so much for sharing your ideas. The second question is going to be a poll, and it really what we're thinking is how do we get you guys to or how do we best share information with you? So I'm going to put this again. It's that same website, back to Menti. If you can click on that link, it'll bring you to the next question. And this is a ranking question. So the question is, I'll present here. The question is, what are the preferred formats? And I'm wrong in my 3 formats. You can choose any of them. They're ranked. So rank them in a list of I think there's 8 of them. What is the best way that we as a community could share updates, information, and resources with you? How would you like to hear from each other, and from the steering committee? How do we facilitate that? So go ahead and rank those in Menti.
Hey, Jake.
1 through 8.
Jake, we need it to be refreshed or something. We're still saying the last question. Maybe resend the link, or I don't know if there's a refresh.
Let me see. Thank you. Can you get to it now?
I can see it now, and it's got that 3 formats that would be most effective, and it has a little drop-down box. So hopefully everyone's seeing that now.
So you don't have to pick 3. I apologize. I wrote that before I knew I could rank 8. So just go ahead. You have 8 choices, first, second through 8. So choose which ones work best for you. Every time you choose one, it gets taken off the list. And you can choose 8 different choices. Just rank them for us. And I'm giving you about 2 minutes to do this. This is a harder one. I'm going to give everybody another 1.5 minutes. We haven't heard from everybody, so keep the responses coming in. We want to hear from you. All right, about 30 seconds. So if you have an opinion, please share it now. We want to hear from you. All right, so it looks like a lot of people think that the webinar format is a comfortable format. An online forum to share. Field trips to visit projects and trail groups is 3rd. some more in-person trainings, in-person meetings. I think we're all looking forward to actually seeing people again. A newsletter that goes out through email, some short videos, a podcast. So those were just some of our ideas. It looks like people have somewhat strong opinions about what would work best for you, which is awesome. This will help guide the Education Outreach Subcommittee's efforts to get you information that's relevant, as well as in a format that you think is digestible. So the next question is really about timing. It's sort of a piggybacking off of this question. So I'm going to advance that. The second question for you is, how often would you like to interact with the Utah Trails Forum? So any of those kind of formats, do you want us to be getting together or getting information frequently, and how frequently? So go ahead and share your thoughts on that, please. This one's a little easier, so I'll give you about a minute for it. All right, keep them coming in. I gave you about 10 more seconds to share your opinion. It was a real big rest when I put on there never again, but I figured it was worth it. Hopefully that's not an invitation for one of you to vote on that, just to make me feel sad. All right, so it looks like people are like a quarterly, every other month time frame sounds good. So it sounds like more often than not, which is great. I think it shows me there's a general hunger in the Trails community to get together to talk about these, whatever those items are, and to learn from each other, which is great. Thank you. That is the end of our polling. I'll be willing to, I think I can get a hold of the data and share this with you later about some of the actual feedback. But the last question I wanted to ask you is a question about what maybe you or your organization can bring to the table. So again, this is a community where I think we only get better as we work together. So the question that I'm putting in the chat is, what resources can you or your organization bring to the table to this community? So if you've got a super awesome workbook that your community has developed, if you guys have a training program that you guys are doing, if you've got a funding advice on funding, or maybe you've been to a project that's really, you guys have an awesome project you want to showcase, a process you guys that you think would be helpful. What could you bring to the table from you or your organization that you'd be willing to share across this community? So go ahead and throw those in as well. If your name is something like Jesse, your name is Jesse Jones. If your name is something that's unrecognizable, feel free to put your name in with your comment so people know who said what, if that makes sense. And this one's a tough one. I'm going to give you 2 minutes on this one. And you can go ahead and just throw those in as soon as you get them, get those ideas up. I don't want those ideas to stay in your brain too long.
Jake, are you talking about using the notes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Laura. I apologize. I wasn't clear on that. Please use the chat feature, which is up in the upper right-hand corner, to type those in. Thank you for the clarification. So it looks like some students that might be out there, maybe a small town, the rural perspective on planning. Greg, years of trial and error. I know that for sure, right? That's awesome. And thank you. It's good to see you, Greg. Brandon, how to do a trails inventory, or maybe that service. Rob, I know you have tons of experience with working with public lands. That's awesome. How do you go through the process of planning, designing, and building all kinds of different trails? Sean, yeah, we do have conservation corps, and I think I would be remiss if we didn't recognize we have professional trail builders, we have tons of volunteers, we also have conservation corps scattered throughout the state that do work on maintaining and building trails. If you're having a hard time getting your volunteers to backpack 15 miles in the middle of nowhere to work for an afternoon, they're a great resource to get some of that stuff done. So yeah, stories from the field, success learning experiences, volunteer development, these are awesome. So these are things that our committee can maybe reach out to you afterwards to see if there's a way you'd be willing to share some of this information. And these hopefully will become topics that we could have you host or tell us a little bit about in some sort of a webinar series or an email or a blog post. So if you have any other thoughts, please feel free to post them here. So what I wanted to just finish up with is first thanking you all for being interactive and sharing some thoughts and really investing in the community. And I want to turn the remainder of the time, and it's 1:16, over to Dave to quickly wrap us up. I've not been to a virtual meeting that ended early that I wasn't happy with. So if we can end this meeting a few minutes early, I think it's a win for everybody. So Dave, I'll turn the time over to you to finish things up and wrap us up.
Sure. Yeah. Before I do that, though, I think Tara is going to talk a little bit about kind of an exciting endeavor we have going on with the Outdoorrex Summit. So I will have Tara do that, and then I will thank you all briefly. So we really will end early.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are really thrilled to really put together, we had a little preview of it last year, but a Utah Trails Forum annual conference. And it will be in conjunction with one of the 2 Utah Outdoor Recreation Regional Summits. This one will be up in Logan at the USU campus, September 22nd, and I will say it's through the 24th, because that is the section with the Utah Trails Forum. On the 22nd, it would have afternoon classroom sessions, full group workshops, really coming together like we did here. And at the summit, there will be some sessions on trails, towns, and tourism. It really brings together a number of folks, from different groups, whether that's somebody in the tourism sector, somebody in, like Patty Wise here, who's on a city council, and trail builders and the like. So that really provides kind of networking and cross work across boundaries. Lastly, I'm really thrilled to announce, if you haven't seen it yet, and if somebody has it and can put on there, the link to the USU Master Trails online program, Module 1. That is something that we was unveiled, what was it, a year ago or so, Jake? And in a public way. So that's an online course that you can take in about an hour and really get a feel for basic trail building. It's meant that even NICA kids can get on and really get an understanding of maintenance and more. So that one is fantastic. Thank you so much, Patrick. So keep that link and follow that. But what will be available on Friday are the secondary modules. So those will be full day field workshops, and you will be receiving credit from USU's extension service with the Master Trail Steward Program. And what we've talked about right now would involve, you could choose from trail maintenance, trail design, and trail inventory as potential workshops. And those will be limited to about 20 people each. So we're really excited. It will start earlier in the morning, and we'll be providing meals and snacks and all that kind of stuff. So, but this will be the first kickoff ever. But we're really excited. I will also say 2 more things. One is on that first day, those workshops will be divided between kind of trail novice. So if you're new to this, it's perfect for you. And then there will be another segment that's kind of trail professionals. So so there should be something for everyone, and we're really thrilled because Greg Mizzou with Single Track Trails is our first sponsor that stepped up for the Utah Trails Forum. So these sponsors really help reduce costs and make it so that these kinds of things are really affordable for everybody, and we're really thrilled about that. Thank you. I know we'll be having more of those. So that's it, Dave.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. This has been really fun. I've gotten a lot out of it. I know I can speak on behalf of the entire advisory committee that we're all really excited to work more with you and to just be involved in this endeavor. The one thing I know for certain, I don't think any of us know exactly where this is all going to lead, but the one thing I know for certain is it's going to end up leading to a better place for trails and trail communities and this thing we all love. So thanks a lot. And it's been great. And just like Jake said, we're going to end a little early. So thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Good to see you.
Thank you. Great comments in there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave, for finishing things up. That was awesome.
Sure.
And Patrick,
Jake, do you want to end the recording?